Okay, I'll give you a quick recap before creating one more table using data dictionary. So what is the transaction code to create the or to access the data dictionary?
SC11.
SC11 is the transaction code to access data dictionary. Here you can manage different database objects, okay, including tables. So what is a table?
Contains rows and columns.
Yeah, it just contains rows and columns. So we can organize the data, okay? By using a table, you can organize the data in the database, okay? Tell me how many types of data are there?
Master data transaction.
Yes. So in a table, we store the data. What type of data it is? Again, in in real time or in general projects, we create two types of tables. One is for master data and another one is for transactional data. Okay, so we create two types of tables: master data tables and transactional data tables. Okay, let's assume we need to create database tables to maintain the employee information. To maintain the employee information. Tell me what are all the tables required to maintain complete employee information? Or I'll give you more general example. We need to create applications for hospital management system. Hospital management system. So on hospital management, approach your company to develop applications, ERP applications for their hospital maintenance. To develop the tables, somewhere, whatever the screens you create, right? Whatever the data you enter in the screen, end of the day, that should store in some database table, right? Permanently. Otherwise, next day you cannot see the data if there is no such mechanism to store the data permanently, right? So we use database tables to store the data permanently in a database level, right? So if we take hospital management system as an example, can you tell me what are all the tables we need to create? Or can we create only a single table to maintain the entire hospital data?
No.
No, it is not possible to maintain entire data in a one single table, right? Billing, lab records, doctor's information, consultation information, right? Everything we cannot store in a single table. So we divide tables into master data tables and transactional data tables. Again, we use multiple tables for each kind of master data. For example, Doctor's master data. What does this doctor's master data table contains? Doctor's master list, doctor ID, doctor name, and a few other details of the doctor. Okay. There should be another table to maintain patient's master data. So here we have a unique patient ID, patient name, and other patient information like phone number and email, etc. There can be another master table for which one it is. Let's assume it for different types of laboratory tests. Okay, like blood test, MRI scan, CT scan, etc. Master list of tests available in that hospital, right? Similarly, we have ward master list, rooms master list. So we need to maintain different types of master tables. Now, when we create a transactional record, when patient need to pay some bill or when patient need to book a lab test, right? At the time, we create a billing record. So what type of table it is?
transaction,
Transactional table, right? Now, tell me what details will be available in this billing table. Who is paying the bill, right? That information should be available, right? Who is paying the bill? Yes or no?
yes, sir.
So, who will pay the bill usually? Doctors or patients?
Patients,
So patients used to pay the bill, but from where we are going to get that patient master data? From patient master table. We refer patient master table for the valid patient ID. Okay, this transactional table will be connected with the patient master table, and also in this bill there might be a column for concerned doctor who recommended the patient or concerned doctor for that bill. So a doctor ID will be linked to this billing table, right? If it is a lab, if it is a lab test, for example, this bill is for lab test, right? So who is the patient? Who is the doctor recommended that particular test? And what is the test? So that will be linked to billing data table, right? So what we understood here, first we need to maintain the master data so that we can identify the valid value, valid doctor, valid patient. We should not enter some random ID, right? In transactional tables. We should not allow some random ID to be entered, right? In place of doctor ID and patient ID. So that ID should be a valid ID. From there, from where we can validate it, whether it is a valid ID or not, by maintaining master data. We refer that master data to create the transactional records. Okay. Along with this master data values, it contains value, that what is the amount, right? What is the tax and everything. This billing data table, right? So this is how we design database tables when we are working on any application. We do not dump all the data into one single table. Okay. Now tell me how these tables will be connected. There will be a common field. There will be a common field between master table and transactional tables. For example, if you take billing table, if you take billing table, there should be a patient ID which should be connected with the patient master table. We create this relationship. We create this relationship with one special property called foreign key. What do we call this? Foreign key
Foreign key.
relation. So we establish a foreign key relation between transactional tables and master tables so that user can enter only valid values. It won't allow you to enter incorrect values. Incorrect patient ID it won't allow. Incorrect doctor ID it won't allow. Incorrect lab test it won't allow. From where it is validating? From this master data tables. Okay, from this master data tables. So whatever the valid records we maintain in master data tables. So we refer those master data values when we are creating a transaction. Okay, I'll give you a simple example. When you try to book a train ticket, right? So they book a train ticket on a particular train ID, right?
Yes, sir.
There should not be a possibility that the user, like the clerk, whoever booking the ticket, should not be able to enter any random ID in your ticket, right? You should be able to enter only valid train ID, correct? Even though if you enter incorrect train ID, it should reject it. It should throw some error. Okay, so that consistency we make sure by establishing a foreign key relationship. Okay, I'll explain in detail about foreign key relationship later. Okay, is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
So these are we in general we create the database tables. We do not create one single table and dump everything into it. Okay, so you need to think what are the tables required, what are the master tables required, what are the transactional tables required for my requirement, and what are the primary keys of each table. That is very important. Okay, what is the primary key of each table? If you keep on increasing number of primary keys in a table, what will happen? It will allow a lot of duplicate records. Okay, so if you increase number of primary keys means you are providing an option to create more duplicate records. Okay, is everyone clear? What are the maximum number of primary keys allowed?
16.
16, right? So we can create maximum 16 primary keys so that records will be created or records will be accepted based on this 16 fields combination. Okay, this 16 fields combination, it identifies the unique record. Okay, it identifies the unique record. Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
So let's create one more table. I think in the previous session we create one simple table using the direct data types. So we have one important concept called data elements and domains. I'll explain in detail. Let me create one more table. ZDemo employee. So my requirement is to maintain employee data in the system. So what is the prerequisite to maintain or to create any employee related transactions? We need to maintain some master data, right?
Yes, sir.
Create employee master data table. Provided the description, it is mandatory to provide the description. Wherever you see this asterisk symbol, right? That means that is a mandatory field. That is a mandatory field. Okay. You need to enter some value, some valid value in it. What is the next important details we need to maintain? Delivery
Delivery.
class. So what does this delivery class define?
Type of the table. What?
What type of table you are creating? Is it a application table or customization table? What do you mean by application table? It is for either master data or transactional data, to maintain
Transaction.
master data records or transactional data records, which is related to business data. Okay, the actual business data. That is a application table for master data and transactional data. Okay. Customizing data. It is for system configurations. We create customizing data for system configurations. Okay. There are different other system tables which are used for system purpose. Usually we don't use these tables like LGES to maintain the business data. So business data we maintain only in application tables. That might be a master data or transactional data. Select A. If you want to allow to maintain the records in SC11 itself, delivery and maintenance allowed, so that it will generate a screen to maintain the data in the table, to enter the data in the table. Okay. Otherwise, you have to create separate program to insert the data records. Okay. Usually we do not directly create data in the database tables. Some program will accept the data in the screen, and that program validates the data and inserts the data into the database table. We do not directly create data into database tables, right? Except a few master data configurations. Okay. Now, what is the next thing we need to maintain? Fields. What are the columns of the table? What are the columns of the table? Tell me, what are the fields needed in employee master data table?
Employee ID.
Employee ID. Always remember, don't give long, very large names for the columns. Okay? Don't give very large names for the columns. Make it as short as possible. Okay? If you want to separate the field, use underscore emp underscore id. Okay, emp underscore id. Just try to provide short names for the columns. Okay, this is the first column of the table. Tell me, there is another column we observed, right, as a primary key in one standard table. What is that?
Client.
Client number. What is the column name?
MA.
MANDT is the column name, right? That is client number. So what is the use of that client number?
Uh,
If we add client number to the table, right, it defines whether it should be available for all clients or not. If there is a client field added to this table becomes a client dependent table. Client dependent table. If there is a MANDT field in this column table, okay. So when we create a table, so when we create a table, if we use client, that is called MANDT, as a first column in the database table, so it becomes a client dependent table. So whatever the data records you created in this client, in this current client, will not be visible to another client. So we are in which system? 2023 S4HANA 2023 system. When we try to log in, you see a client number right here. System might be same, system is same, server is same. We can configure multiple clients. We can configure multiple clients to logically partition the system. You can see same table in all the clients. For example, our current client is 800. So you will be having a client from 0 to 999. You can logically partition your system into different clients, right? Currently, I'm logging with 800, client number 800. So if I add MANDT field to the table and we create any data records in this table in client number 800, and the different user log in with client number 801, Will they be access this table or not in SC level?
No.
Yes, they can access the table. They can access this table. They can see what are all the columns available in this table. They can see what are the fields and corresponding data types of the table. But what is the difference? They cannot see the data what we created in it. For example, employee ID 100, employee name and city. We provided the data, but they cannot see the data in their client. The data will be only available in client number 800. They can see this table metadata. They can see this table metadata. They cannot see the record which we created in the table. Okay.
Okay.
What is record? This is the table, right? Yesterday we create in the previous session we created it. This is the table and these are the keys, fields available in the table. This table can be accessible in any client within the same system. Even if you log in with any client, you can see this information, table information. But can you see the data records when you go to contents, execute? You can see these records, right? These are the data. This is the data what we created in the table, right? For example, employee 100 you created from client number 801. This table contains MA entity as the first column. Can we see this data record in 800? We cannot
No.
see. We cannot see. Okay. So that is called client dependent data. Okay. When we maintain MA entity column in the table. Okay. Whatever the records we created in the current client can be visible only within the same client. If you try to see these records in the other client, you cannot see them. You can see the table, you can access the table, but not the records which are created in a different client. Okay, that is called client dependent property. What is client independent? Without MA entity column in the table. So if you create records in any client, those records will be visible in all the clients. Okay, no restriction. Okay, clear? If you want to restrict your data records to current client, specific client, you need to add MANDT as a column. If you don't want such restriction, right, don't use MANDT. But usually in most of the tables we use a MANDT column. Okay. For now, we'll just create without MANDT. So employee ID is the primary key to maintain data uniquely. Okay. So what is the data type? For now, use bulletin type. What is the data type? Character. What is the length allowed?
10.
10. Okay. This is the first column of the table. By using employee ID, we uniquely identify employee master data. Now tell me what are all the other primary keys required in this table?
Employee name.
Okay. I'm talking about primary keys.
Um,
Do we need employee name as a primary key?
no.
In employee master, there should be one unique employee record. It should not be repeated, right?
Yes.
So we can use only employee ID as a primary key because there is a chance of repeated names, right? Names can be duplicate, right?
Yes,
Even
sir.
there is a possibility that surname also repeated, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So that's why we cannot use employee name as a primary key. That too, always remember names, cities, These things we cannot use as a primary keys. Okay, we use only IDs as primary keys. Okay,
Okay.
what should be the data type for employee name?
Character.
Character, employee name. What are the other fields, other columns required in employee master data type?
phone number,
Hmm. Phone number. What should be the data type we need to take for phone number?
Number.
numeric n,
Yes, numeric character. In program level, we can use n. Here, I think it's numc. Same type. Okay, numc. And what is the length?
10.
10. Phone number. What are the other details required?
City.
Yes, city. What should be the data type?
Character.
Maximum length allowed might be around 40. What are the other columns?
Mail.
Yeah, email ID. Again, what type of data it is?
Character.
Email character data. It should allow alphabets, special characters, numbers. That means we need to take character. Give some maximum limit for email ID. Email ID. DOB, date of birth, or DOJ, date of join, right? What is the data type for this? Date of join. To maintain date of join,
date,
date. We need to use date, right? Select date as a data type. You can see different date format here. Observe here. DATM, native HANA date. Okay. Don't use it. Always use this one. Okay. Date in YYYMMDD. What is the SAP's internal date format?
Year, month, and date.
Yeah, year, month, and date without separators. Okay. Do you need to provide the length? No need. So,
No.
okay, date data type will have some default length 8. Internal length is 8, external length is
10.
10. Okay. Okay. These fields are enough for now. Save the table. What is a package? So we save any objects created into a package. Package is like a folder for each application. Okay. We in projects they'll will be provided with a valid package name. We are going to enter that package name, or to save it locally for temporary purpose, save in a local object. Local object nothing but a local package, temporary package. Okay. That package name is $tmp. Okay. Or you can simply select a local object. Why it is displaying this information? Specify a client specific application table. Specify a client specific application table. What do you mean by client specific?
Client.
It is recommending to create a
Client
client
independent.
dependent database table using MANDT as a column. Okay, using MANDT as a column. Okay, that is this information. If you add MANDT, you won't see this information. Okay. Now our columns are ready. I've identified what are the columns required in my table and what are the primary keys required for my table. Now what is the next step?
Technical settings.
Technical settings. I need to mention what type of table or what type of data I am going to save in this table, right? And what is the maximum number of records allowed for this table? Go to technical settings. What is the data class? Very important interview question. What is the data class?
What type of the data?
what type of data you are going to create in this table. Is it master data or transactional data? How it makes difference? By your choice, whether it is, if it is master data table, this master data will be saved in a specific location of the database. One specific location will be allocated to store the master data, and one another specific location will be allocated to store the transactional data. That is why we need to provide this data class, whether it is a master data table or transactional data table. If you open any table, that might be a standard table or custom table, how can you say this table is a master data table or this table is a transactional data table? By checking the data
Data
class.
class.
Okay, by checking the data class. If it is APPL 0, it is master data table. If it is APPL 1, that is transactional data table. There are other tables like customizing data, right? Configurations data. We'll discuss that later. Okay, APPL 0 for master data, APPL 1 for transactional data. Okay, now tell me, I've selected APPL 0 as option here in data class. Can I create transactions in the database table using by using APPL 0 as data class? Can we maintain transactional data?
It's for master data.
It won't
Possible.
stop you. It won't stop you. Even though if you try to create transactional data, if you try to create a billing data table and provided the option as APPL 0, it won't stop you, right? But that is not recommended. Okay, that is not recommended. Okay, if you try to create transactional data in a table, and if you give data class as 0, it won't stop you. System is not going to stop you, but that is not recommended. Okay, clear?
Exactly.
Now, next important option, size category. What is the use of size category?
Appro- Approximate
To
number of
maintain appropriate or approximate number of records we are going to store in this table, right? Approximate number of records. Size category limit will be changed, depends on the number of columns in the table and the data type of the table and the length of the table. It is not fixed for every table. 0 means for this table it is showing 0 to 1900, but is this same for every table? No. This
no.
limit will be changed based on number of columns you have entered in the table and length you have provided for the each column. Okay, clear? Let's say I've selected 0. What are the maximum number of records allowed?
1900.
1900. Let's assume my company's overall strength is around 1500, right? Total employee strength. Is this option sufficient or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is sufficient. You have to do that analysis before selecting the size category, right? What are the possibility of what are the possibility of the records, number of records we are going to be created in this table? Now let's assume our company take over a different company, right? Our company planning to buy a different company, it's already completed. That takeover is completed. Now both companies are merged into one single company. That new company contains 2000 employees. Now total how many employees will be available after the merger?
3,900.
Current in our current company we have 1500, and then in the new company we have 2000. Total 3500 employees. What is the maximum limit we allowed?
1,900.
1900.
1900.
So after reaching 1900 limit, is it going to allow you to create remaining employee records?
Yes, sir. It's allowed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it won't stop you. Okay, it won't stop you to create a record. It will assign one more size category automatically. System will take care of it. One more zero. That means another 1900 records will be allocated. Right? It won't stop you. Okay? So similarly, it will automatically extend the size category once the limit is exhausted. Okay? But always remember, it will impact the performance. If you try to, for example, you selected the size category as 0 and you are trying to create by using a program, you are trying to create 50,000 records in this table. 50,000 records into this table using one program you are trying to insert. How that program will execute? First it will insert 1900 records and the limit is completed. Now the program has to wait for the system and system has to allocate one more size category and then program has to start the process again. And after reaching next 2000 limit, and again the program will wait for the system to allocate one more size category. So this process will start until all the 50,000 records are inserted into the table. Is it going to take time or not to
Yes.
complete this process? The program has to wait for the system to allocate the size category every time. Right? That is why if you have some analysis, if you know approximate data volume that will be created, right? You have to provide adequate size category for each tables. Okay? Not too low and not too high. Okay? Because it will unnecessarily occupy memory in the database. Okay? It will unnecessarily occupy memory in the database if you provide too high. Okay? So when I joined in one of the project in my initial days, I've created a program. I tested the program with few records. It is working well, and we transported it to production after testing. Even testing team also tested the program. It is working perfectly, and everything is completed, and we transported it to production and into the live system. The program purpose is to create records into one table, bulk data records into one table. There are around 10 lakhs records. The program has to be inserted into the table using that program, right? They executed the program in live system, production system with those 10 lakh records. The program execution continued for 2 days. Ideally, it should complete within few minutes, max 5-10 minutes. But it executed for 2 days. Do you know why?
Size category.
The developer who created that table, I didn't observe the size category. I checked the tables, I checked the primary keys, fields, and everything. I didn't check what is the size category they have given for the table. By default, they have given 0 as size category. I think it's around 12,000, sorry, 1200 or 1100 records, I think, for the table, as I remember. I didn't check the size category and created the program. Right? So the client thought there is an issue in the program. Right? That is my first object I delivered. Right? They escalated it. The program took 2 days to execute. I was in a worry and checked the program. Program is perfectly fine. I didn't find any statement which going to take long time to execute. Right? So later I checked the table and I go to that size category. Then I realized due to this low size category, right, system is stopping the process every time once the limit is reached and it is trying to assign the size category. So this process is taking too much time, right? So once I changed the size category, once I fixed the size category, so it took around 5 minutes to complete the program execution. Okay, so why I'm telling is you should analyze the size category before giving it. It is very important thing to do. Okay, and it is a very important interview question. Okay, so the common interview question is what is the use of size category? To provide approximate number of records. Then the immediate question you can expect, what happens if the limit is exhausted? Do you need to change it? So if the limit is exhausted, it's not going to stop the process. It will automatically add one more size category. It will continue the process. You don't need to change anything immediately.
So
But
one more in the user, it will
assign
comes to
one more
one.
zero. If you, for example, initially if you select zero, right? Once the limit
Okay.
is exhausted, it will allow one more size category zero. That means another 1900 records.
Okay. It
Okay.
will not comes to one.
Hmm.
Okay.
If you select one every time, it will allocate 7700
7,700.
records. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Always try to select approximate, sorry,
Zero.
relevant size category for your table. Not zero, not for every table. Analyze
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Depends on the data value. Select the size category.
Whenever we
Okay.
know the size category, that's my.
Yes, yes. For example, you are creating these tables for some Amazon
Okay.
to maintain the billing data.
Yes, sir.
How many orders you can expect in a day
Mm,
from Amazon? Uh, for Amazon company, how many orders they receive every day?
more than 1 lakh.
No, no, maybe in millions also. Sometimes it will be millions, right? 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs also possible, right?
Yes, sir. Coming days are there.
Yes,
Will
you
we
need
can
to
get.
analyze it. You need to analyze it, right? So
Yes, sir.
what is the data volume we are going to get, right? Depends on that.
Yes, sir.
Select the size category. Okay.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Sir,
Now,
if the requirement is 35,000 records,
mm, 35,000. We need to select this three. 35. It allows lower limit as 31,000 up to 120, 1,20,000 records. We have to select this three. Okay.
but it will utilize the memory.
Now utilize the memory, but we cannot give exact precise value, right? If you select 35,000, next day that limit will exhaust, right? Again, you need to change your size category, right?
No, it's for transaction. Sorry, master data. It will, suppose if it extend till 40,000, can we use size category too?
No, you cannot. You can use, but the system need to allocate one more time, right? If it reaches 40,000, ideally you can use, right? But as long as you do not try to enter any bulk data in it. Okay. If you already know that you have 40,000 records to be saved in this table, there is no point in selecting size category 2, right? Because 40,000 records are already there, you need to be inserted.
Currently, it's 35,000. The max limit will be 40. So
Again,
that's what
for
is
size
not.
category 2, it is 31, right?
Yeah.
You need to provide safe interval. Okay.
Okay. Sir.
I'm not saying it's not going to work. Size category 2, it will work. But again, system has to anyway allocate one more size category, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Save the table, go back. What is the next step?
Create entries.
Check and activate the table, right? Now my table is ready. To create some sample records, usually we do not create records in the data dictionary. We create records through some programs, application programs, after validating the data. Okay. Just for sample data, we use create entries option, provide employee ID 100, name, some name, phone number. I'm entering in lowercase, right? Is it going to accept the records in lowercase?
Yes, sir.
No, it won't. By default, the SAP will convert data into uppercase by default, but we can control it. We can control it using the domains. I'll explain in the next session, right? But by default, it will create data in uppercase, character data in the uppercase. Okay. Date of join. You can see the F4 to select the date. Select the date of join and click on save. Change the ID.
Sir, while choosing package as local object, we got some error messages. Mandate field.
That is not error, information. It is recommending to create client dependent table using MA entity. That's not error. It's information. Okay.
Okay.
Save it. So I've created two records. Go back to the table to check the contents. Here, this is the option contents. Execute. So there are two records. By default, it converted the data into uppercase. We can control it by using domains concept so that we can save data as per our requirement. Uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case. Okay. Clear? So this is the output format. What is the output format? Date output format. Day, month, year with a separator. Okay. The length is 10. This is the output format. Internal format is different. DD without any separator. Right? Can we change the separator? So
No.
this separator and output format is depends on the user configurations. This can be controlled. Okay. Some user might want to see slash and some user might want to see dot, but in general, company wise, they follow one standard format in general. All right. Otherwise, you can change the format that you can check in user settings. Go to SU01. SU01. What is the user ID we are using now? Best is the user ID. Click on display. Go to defaults. Yeah, defaults. If you go to default tabs, you can see here. What is the date format it is configured for this user? External output date format. DDMMYY with the dot as a separator. If you click on this, you can see more options. Slash as a separator, hyphen as a separator, different date formats. You can see here. Okay. You can configure for the user. Depends on the user configuration. It will display in the output. Internal date format is same. You cannot change it. Okay. But external date format you can change it. This is decimals for packet decimals. So what is the decimal value you want to use? How many decimal places you want to use by default, right? You can control here. And the time format, what is the time format you want to use? You can control it here. User parameters, what is the transaction code? SU01. Okay. By these for settings, you can see the output. Okay. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.